In this episode of CARPe Diem.
Self-care. It has never been more important to improve our health. Experts Dr. Balpawa, Jolia Fung, and Alex Ackerley give us the tools and information to help us take charge.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome. Our mental health and physical health have a deep connection, and one affects the other. Dr. Balpawa has been studying what stress does to the body for over 30 years. I asked her to give us some clarity and some advice.
Stress shows up in different ways, Carmen. So some people are saying, some women will say, I don't know why, but I've got eczema. I don't know why, but I'm not sleeping. Doctor, I've got heartburn and I'm having to take my proton pump inhibitors again. They're taking Zantac or something over the counter. They're taking drugs again because they can't sleep. So stress shows up, our mental stress shows up in physical ways, in very unusual ways sometimes, and some are getting mental disorders. They're getting depressed, they're getting anxiety, some are getting panic attacks. So it shows up differently in each body, and stress even affects our immune system. So we might not be getting the COVID virus, but we might be showing up with more allergy symptoms or having more flu-like symptoms, but it's not COVID. So my point is that stress hormones impact every system in your body. It's incredible how much the cellular impact, like cortisol and adrenaline, are stress hormones, and every cell in our body, if there's too much stress, will show signs of it. And depending on which body type you are, that's the symptoms you'll get.
So we could be suffering the stress, but we don't know what it is. We don't have a word for it.
You don't have a word, you're just having symptoms and you don't know why. Like the lady who I spoke to last week said, I don't know why, but all of a sudden my psoriasis is bad or my eczema is bad, and it suddenly goes up. So you see this, when someone is going through exams and stress from work, they lose a job or they have a marital breakdown. Any kind of stress will cause, if it's prolonged and excessive, like our body can handle a little bit of stress, like the Goldilocks principle, Carmen, have you heard of that? Like a little bit of stress is good because it helps us to react and be safe and, do our hand washing and social distancing and all that. But if it's too much stress, if it's prolonged and excessive, then it starts to cause problems in your body.
What happens to our body with the stress? What happens? Is it a chemical reaction? What happens?
So when you have stress, it can be any kind of stress, by the way, mental, emotional stress, physical stress, if you're having chronic pain, infectious stress, say your body is stressed out by some kind of bacteria or virus, chemical stress. So all stress travels on a pathway called the fight-flight response. Your brain sends a message down to your adrenal glands, which are located on top of your kidneys, and they put out cortisol and adrenaline. That's called the fight-flight reaction. So it is a chemical reaction, and it allows you to rev up your body. It's like you put the gas on, you rev up a motor and you can get out of the way. But the important thing is you should be able to slow it down and put some brakes on so your body can go back to normal. That's called the brakes. So when you calm down, you're in a situation where you're not stressed, your body has a chance to return to normal. In this pandemic, we've had 6 or 7 weeks of constant, relentless stress. You turn on the news and people are talking about death and loss and job loss and uncertainty. So uncertainty and fear is causing the same reaction of fight or flight, and it's impacting our immune system as well.
As Dr. Pawa just said, gut health is crucial. When we come back, we'll talk to nutritionist Julia, who's going to give us some good tips on eating for our Zoomer bodies.
Still ahead on Carpe Diem.
There's vegetarian, which includes dairy, but no meat or seafood. And then there's vegan, which excludes meat, seafood, and dairy.
Carpe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. I really wanted to find out how best to eat for my Zoomer body. So I asked nutritionist Julia to explain how we should adapt our menus as we age.
As we talk about aging, again, I'm going to bring up the importance of your stomach acid. And as we age, we do reduce our production of stomach acid. And stomach acid is really important because it's kind of one of the first steps to digestion. It's breaking down our food, preparing our food for assimilation, making sure that the enzymes are actually catching up to all the proteins and fats and carbohydrates that we are putting into our bodies. Now, when we are eating raw foods, it actually takes a lot more work and a lot more stomach acid for the body to break down these foods, for the body to assimilate these nutrients. So when in reverse, if you're eating more cooked foods on the opposite end, then you're actually already helping with that digestion process. You're not adding more load to the body to try to break down these foods and then assimilate these nutrients. They're already cooked down, and it's much, much easier for a stomach that has reduced stomach acid to really assimilate these nutrients.
So are we losing any nutritional value when we cook our organic produce, or are we not?
When you are cooking, definitely when it comes to vegetables, for example, unfortunately you will lose some of the nutrients. But when you're weighing against maybe compromised digestive system, maybe you're not even able to really digest raw foods, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages of that.
And at what age do you think that we should really think about transitioning from a lot of raw into softer foods that our bodies can digest more easily?
Starting when you're approaching, 45, 50, at that age is really when you're seeing more of a reduction in these enzymes that are being produced in the digestive system and the stomach acid. So at that age, really start to be more mindful of the types of food you're eating and the amount of raw foods. It's not to say that you can't have raw foods at all, and raw foods are great, but when it comes to, let's say raw broccoli or raw cauliflower, raw carrots, or raw tomatoes, those are things that you should really consider actually eating cooked.
What other tips do you have for us?
Making sure the nutrient density, making sure that you're eating real food all the time, not too much, and really mostly plants. As we age also, our stomach acid is actually not producing as vigorously as it was when we were younger. So the types of food that we're eating, meats, for example, it's actually much harder for us to digest. When we talk about protein and muscle retention as we age, it also does deteriorate because the amino acids that we're getting from the foods, it's harder for us to assimilate. So it's really, really important to, again, making sure that we are eating mostly real food, and then also that you're spreading out your meals in smaller meals and more frequent throughout the day, so that you're giving yourself more time to really assimilate and break down the food and not stuffing yourself with too much food all at once.
Thank you, Julia, for your good advice, and I look forward to more.
Absolutely.
As Julia suggested, we should eat mostly a vegetarian diet. We sent Leah Bolton to the grocery store to explore meatless options.
This is another option that we have. It's part of the new plant-based line from President's Choice, and this is a chickenless chicken breast. So
cool. This is like Beyond Meat, but not Beyond Meat.
Exactly. So it's another alternative that folks can use.
According to studies by Dalhousie University, almost 10% of Canadians are now vegan or vegetarian.
There's no no true definition of what plant-based means. It can mean different things to different people, anywhere from, introducing more plant options in your diet and also including meats and dairies. And it can go all the way to the other end of the spectrum where a person is on a vegan diet. So flexitarian means that you eat a variety of foods, including meats and dairies and fish, but more focusing with plants. So you'll have meats occasionally. There's pescatarian, which means no meat.
I know that
but
one.
you'll have
Fish.
some seafood
Yeah.
and some fish. Then there's vegetarian, which includes dairy, but no meat or seafood. And then there's vegan, which excludes meat, seafood, and dairy.
For 3 months now, we've been doing the plant-based diet. We just thought, what the heck, we'll give it a try, and we haven't really looked back. It's been great, we feel better, we feel full. I've got a whole bunch of new recipes that I just Google and use. It's delicious. Even my husband, who was always a meat eater, loves the plant-based diet.
So we have a variety of different legumes, beans, and lentils, and these are some examples of high sources of protein.
Did you know a 2019 Insights West survey also revealed that 27% of Canadians are considering a plant-based diet? I'm Leah Bolton. Back to you in the studio, Carmen.
Even Leslie was surprised that her husband was enjoying vegetarian meals. I asked Dr. Pawa why good food is crucial to our gut health and how bad choices can affect us.
Our gut is called our second brain. It has neurons, it has all these cells that help us to take food and use it to promote all the healthy cells in our body. So it is only 1 micron away from the outside environment. In other words, when you eat something from your environment or touch your hands, the first contact is through the mucous membranes in your food tube and in your gut. So keeping that membrane really healthy is so vital, because that's your entry point. It's like having all these soldiers lined up shoulder to shoulder in a row, and that's your surveillance system. So how do we keep that membrane healthy? Choose foods that are anti-inflammatory. Things like sugar and wheat are inflammatory. Alcohol is inflammatory. Certain drugs like taking Advil or taking aspirin can be inflammatory to the gut. So choose foods that are what we call anti-inflammatory. Lots of plant-based foods, having good oils, good fat, good protein. All those things help to keep your gut healthy. And remember about fermented foods, right? Fermented foods have good bacteria, and good bacteria promote a good immune system.
Well, looks like we all have to take some personal responsibility if we want to become healthy older Zoomers. Exercise is a great way to combat stress. So when we come back, we're talking to Alex about fitness.
Still ahead on CARPe Diem.
It's a much underrated skill that sometimes we don't realize we need until we lose it.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. How many of us have kept up our fitness over the years? How many of us are stuck on what our bodies used to do? Fitness expert Alex may have just found the solution to motivate us to move again.
My niche has really become working with people who have perhaps view that their peak years is behind them in terms of athletic ability. And I really want to try and open people's eyes and show them that it's possible to hit new peaks as you get older. And seeking some variety as we go along is one of the best ways to do that.
Well, I think the important thing is, to be motivated to do it. Sometimes we just need to have a plan in place, and that we're not alone, right? That's kind of part of the reason why I think you're being successful with your online platform is it gives you liberty, but it also gives you one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, people need coaching for many different reasons. Some people need the accountability. Some people need the expert guidance. Some people just need to be told to get up off their butt. So what we try and do with the True Coach, the app that we deliver our coaching product through, is to give people the accountability and the flexibility to work when they want. So they get regular check-ins with their coach, and they get the video instruction as they go, and really try and remove as many of those barriers as we can.
What do you recommend people should do every day? Where do you start them?
Well, you just got to get started, I guess, is the main thing. And if we really wanted to boil that down to 2 or 3 simple things, we want to be able to get up and down off the floor. It's a much underrated skill that sometimes we don't realize we need until we lose it. Secondly, squats, we sit down, we stand up all day long, and it's a great way for us to strengthen really key areas of the body. So we need to be good at squatting, and we need to do it regularly. And then some form of upper body strength is important. If you think about functional movement, whether it's picking up grandkids or whether it's opening doors, we need our upper body to be able to function. So if you had to keep an eye on 2 areas, let's make sure that we maintain mobility in the shoulder and hips.
What are the exercises that you would recommend for anybody at home right now for your hips and your shoulders?
Yeah, so I think I shared the windshield wipers on the floor as one of our sort of hip mobilizer exercises, and it's really great for getting comfortable on the floor. Most people don't know it, but if you sit down on the floor for 5 minutes or so, you're probably going to get a bit uncomfortable and want to lean on something or keep shifting positions. So windshield wipers on the floor are a great way to open your eyes about what your hips are doing when you're required to sit on the floor. And it's one of the building block positions before we can start to think about getting up and down off the ground.
I'm getting strength and mobility. That's where you want everyone to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're talking about mobility and strength, for example, in the hips, then we can look at mobility first, because we need to be able to access positions and postures before we can even think about developing strength in those places. So one of the exercises I've shared here is a simple shin box windshield wiper that I'll get people to perform on the floor, and it'll really open your eyes about how comfortable you are sitting on the floor and how mobile or immobile your hips might be. Once we've got that mobility and we can access it, we need to start to think about strengthening the muscles so that we can support all of the positions that mobility enables us to get to. So we're thinking about things like squats. I've done a little video here with my dog, and lunges. And, if we can start to think about supporting load through those positions as well, then we're really off to the races, and we're going to start to develop some good strength.
Thank you so much, Alex. Those were very simple exercises, and I hope that all of our viewers are motivated to just move and do something. And I can't wait to have you back for more. Are you motivated? Let's go back to Dr. Pawa and ask her, how does exercise help our immunity?
Now, everybody knows exercise is good for you, but when it comes to the immune system, when you exercise, you're actually building what we call your natural killer cells. So when we exercise and you bring oxygen, you're getting all your system to work properly, you're actually building your immune system.
There's absolutely no doubt that if we want to ensure long and healthy aging, we need to move our bodies and exercise. I hope you're motivated. We'll be right back.
Still ahead on CARPe Diem.
Since we look and use our hands, we look at them and use them regularly, having them neat and looking pretty actually can trick your brain into calming yourself down and feeling less anxiety in the day.
CARPe Diem. Seizing the day for Canadians as we age.
Welcome back. We've talked about managing stress, eating well, exercising. Pampering ourselves can be very good. So I sent videographer Kier Junos to Joyride Nails to experience it firsthand.
And how does that feel?
That's great.
Comfortable?
Okay.
Ticklish a little under? Yes, yes.
A
It's a
little
new
bit.
sensation.
Spas and salons are among the other businesses in BC offering safety measures for their patrons. And in the spirit of trying new things and taking it easy at work, I'm going to get my first mani-pedi done here at Joyride Vancouver.
We were closed for several weeks, and coming back was challenging. And since then, we've made a lot of changes in the way we do things.
I have the plexiglass here. That's one of the new additions, I imagine. A little bit of hand sanitizer.
Guests coming in are required to sanitize their hands. They're required to wear a mask. And same goes with the employees. And throughout the day, we constantly do the cleaning of all the surfaces to make sure that everybody is comfortable staying here.
Feels good? Perfect.
Okay, it's like the perfect temperature. All right.
Well, aside from the just the aesthetic look of, getting manicures and pedicures done, there are a lot of health benefits. First of all, you are keeping your nails clean, and in light of all this pandemic happening, you want to make sure that your nails are always cut properly and they're short, they're cleaned properly. Another thing, it's very important for nail care is your cuticles are taken care of, because cuticles are there as a natural barrier to protect your nails and your fingers from any infection.
What people were cutting before as cuticles are actually cutting the eponychium,
Right.
which you need for your nails. That's what keeps your nails safe.
That's that little part right here.
This little guy right here, yeah.
That's not a cuticle.
That's not the cuticle. This
Okay.
skin that I'm pushing back here, this is the cuticle.
Oh.
This is what you're supposed to cut off.
Well, this is a nice chair. I should maybe just try to relax a little bit.
So when we're stressed out in our day-to-day lives, having some sort of order, and since we look and use our hands, we look at them and use them regularly, having them neat and looking pretty actually can trick your brain into calming yourself down and feeling less anxiety in the day. I think we could all use that right now.
Well, would you look at that? Shiny, new, feeling like a baby. You let yourself have a little bit of fun one of these days, and you too could have it all. For Carpe Diem, I'm Kirjunos.
The experts are always telling us to take good care of ourselves so that we can enjoy a good and healthy Zoomer life. I hope our guests today, Dr. Pawa, Alex, and Jolia, have motivated you to do just that. If you want to hear a conversation here, please get in touch. And that's the show. Remember, as our CARPe president, Moses Neimer, always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So, Carpe Diem and seize your day.